Okay, in this lesson, we're talking about what are categorical versus quantitative variables, because the type of variable dictates the statistics that you'll use, and you'll need to know the difference for the next two lessons in this unit. So in general, we take a sample from a population, and we're interested in something about the population. That thing that we want to know about the population is called a parameter. So let's say I want the average GPA of all the students at Rocky River. That would be a parameter. You definitely could get that, but not from, but you'd have to be a admin to do that. So I might take a statistic, I might take a sample of a couple different homerooms or 3 or 4 different homerooms and find out the average GPA from that. That would be a statistic. And so we call the parameter the variable. We want to know something about the population, but the statistic is really what we usually find out. So a value taken from the sample that tells us about the population. Remember, we want to take a good sample so that thing is useful. And when we do that, we make inferences about the population. So what is categorical data? Categorical data is data that doesn't give us a mean. So we would find a proportion from the population. So we might have groups. We might have categories. Let's say I'm talking about M&Ms. I want to know how many green M&Ms are in a bag. That would be a proportion then, a sample proportion or a population proportion. For the population, the symbol for a categorical data is P, lowercase p, and then the statistic is lowercase p with a little hat. So we call that P hat if we write it out. So you could use colors, letter grades. Notice like A, B, C, D, not numbers, but letter grades, dog breeds, M&Ms, like I just talked about, anything that has categories versus numbers for the statistic. Okay, so that's parameter versus statistic and what categorical data is. What is quantitative data? Quantitative data takes on numerical values, and you would be able to find a mean. If I give you a value and you can't find a mean from what I give you, then that's a proportion. So this is a quantitative data, you can find a mean. The parameter is the Greek letter mu. In this class, we're not going to really worry about that. We're going to worry more about the mean, the statistic, which is x bar. It's just x with this line over it. You may have seen that on your calculator screen before. So examples of quantitative data would be age of students in a class or something like that. Numerical grades, like not A, B, C, D, but 90, 95, 85, like when you're finding an average. And then population of a city could be another example. There's tons of examples. So the standard deviation is just if I take a set of data and I find the mean, not all the values equal the mean. So what is the average distance from the mean of those values? And there's a formula we use, and we'll use that in a later course. But what is that average distance from the mean? We want that value to be sort of small. And if we take a good sample and a large enough sample, that should be pretty close. The parameter for standard deviation is the Greek letter sigma. Again, we're not going to worry too much about that. The statistic is S, capital S. A standard error, which we're going to do in the next lesson, the next set of lessons, is just an estimate of the standard deviation when we take a whole bunch of samples from the population. Okay, so that's it for that lesson.